Hello, everyone, and welcome back to I'll Watch What They're Watching, where we're curious and adamant about cinema. I am one of your co-hosts, and I'm Kyrie.
And I'm Adam.
And today we are kicking off kind of the final Studio Ghibli episode. We got 6 of them to cover, and then we'll kind of do our final ranking at the end. I didn't do a deep dive, but Adam, I did kind of look at I just glanced at your rating before I came here on Letterboxd, and I was a little. There's a couple things that made me a little sad, but that's okay. I'm sure we've already broken everyone's heart by both of us saying that Howl's Moving Castle is not in. I don't think it's in either of our top 10.
Have you checked within the last hour?
No, I don't remember.
Okay,
maybe not.
I've made some slight changes just recently.
It was. If it wasn't within the last hour, it was within like the last hour and a half.
Okay. We'll see if my list was the same as when you first looked. Because I have rewatched a couple movies in between when we've talked about them or when I first watched them. It'll be good to kind of give a big overview and to finish up some of these ones.
Yeah, I was kind of mulling things over as well, and I realized when I was finishing off my ranking just a couple hours ago, I was realizing that there were some that I was not being terribly authentic. I think I was being a little performative because I was like, well, or it was like, oh, well, a loved one of mine loves this one. And I'm like, okay, just because, this is my brother's favorite doesn't mean that I have to love it. And the hard thing with Studio Ghibli too is like, very few of them are lower than 4 stars for me.
Right.
And so that's kind of the thing too, is I'm like...
We talked a little bit about this over text, but there's at least 10, maybe 11 or 12 of them that someone could say that's a 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10 movie. And I'd be like, yeah, no, I get it. I maybe didn't rate it that, but I'd have no issue saying that.
Yeah, like, and we'll kind of get here. I don't mind giving a little bit of a spoiler on this one. Like, ever since the first time I watched it, I have gone back and forth on 4.5 or 5 stars for Boy and the Heron. Like, when I first watched it, I rated it 4.5. When I rewatched it, I did it 5. I rewatched it with my brother, ticked it back down to 4.5. And so, like, that was one that for the longest, when I very first saw it, I was like, I loved the hell out of that thing. Holy crap. Like, I really, really, really liked Boy and the Heron. And now that I've seen all of them, I'm just like, when we've talked about this one, we'll get a little more into it. But I'm like, yeah, I love Boy and the Heron, but like, Nazca of the Valley of the Wind was also one that I'm like, is it 4.5 or 5? And I that's the thing, is like, where I'm sitting right now, Nazca is higher, like by I think even a couple, than Boy and the Heron. Ask me in 3 weeks, and that might change.
Yeah, I totally get that, and that's kind of how I've been shuffling some things around. A couple that I've rewatched, I'm like, oh yeah, I really like this one, but if I would rewatch another one, maybe I would really like that one. I did want to say Boy and the Heron, though, I feel like as the very last one I watched, as the completion of this journey, just felt like a combination of everything. And so I have that pretty highly rated as well. But great movies. Excited to keep talking through.
Expected that. Like, with how much you loved Spirited Away and everything else you were saying as you were kind of going through this journey, because I had been familiar with a lot of Ghibli before you were, but I think you finished them all before I did, because part of it is because I'm a procrastinator, and part of it is because I had school.
Sure.
I'm sitting on that school excuse. So it like, everything you were telling me about the ones you did, like, I just remember thinking like, ooh, you're really gonna like Boy and Heron. So it's definitely gonna be interesting, because a lot of these, like, I know in my head that like Totoro and Spirited Away are like the best ones, but like, this should come as no surprise to anyone. Like, Mononoke is my thing. That's going to forever sit at number 1 for me. I don't see that ever changing. just because of the experience I had with it. But yeah, I mean, there are so many of these that, I mean, we even talked about if someone came up to me, because you loved Porco Rosso more than I did. And I feel like if someone came up to me and was like, oh yeah, Porco Rosso is a 5 out of 5 film, I would be like, yeah, I get that. I could make that argument. I could have that discussion. So
Anyways,
it'll be really interesting.
as we keep tiptoeing through this, why don't we pivot a little bit, because we both were able to get to the theaters and hit some stuff. Before we do that, I did want to mention I did finally see Fantastic Mr. Fox.
I
It was
saw
my
that.
first ever Wes Anderson film, and genuinely, not exaggerating, I've been meaning to watch this movie for 15 years. It's been
Wow.
like when I'm looking for a movie to watch, I'm like, oh, should I watch Fantastic Mr. Fox? Like, genuinely, for 15 years, I've been meaning to watch this movie. So I finally did. Really liked
Dang.
it. So excited to see more Wes Anderson stuff, but just had to throw that out there before we get into the theaters.
Yeah. I'm pulling up my letterboxd right now. A couple that I saw in the past week in a bit. I did see I watched 310 to Yuma, the 2007 version, and I've been writing very short reviews because I'm tired and I just finished school, but my one sentence review said, I think I like Westerns. I was really into it. It's Christian Bale and Russell Crowe. Christian Bale's good. Russell Crowe is a man transformed. Like, he is unreal in every. I'm not like a massive Russell Crowe stan either, and the entire time I was like, this man is doing some really, really impressive acting work here. But I think it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's James Mangold who has done he did like Ford v Ferrari, he did Logan.
Oh, okay.
He's kind
Sure.
of the one that I look at, like he makes dad movies. He's good at making
Sure.
dad movies. But no, I thought it was really, really good. I think if you like Westerns, it's a good one. I feel like it's not one of those that ends super happy. Like, it finished, and I told Sarah, I was like, oh yeah, I loved it. I loved it. I was like, I don't think you should watch it because it's one of those that I was like, it doesn't, I'm going to try to tiptoe this without spoiling it. It's not like a beautiful, tie it up in a neat bow, happy ending.
Sure.
But it is kind of one of those like faith in humanity restored type of endings. Like, it is about like honor and doing the right thing, and even against all odds. So really liked 310 to Yuma. Also, this one will be kind of fun to talk about in regards to like the Ghibli stuff. I rewatched The Last Unicorn, which is a Rankin
Okay.
and Bass film. Rankin and Bass mostly did like those people know them best from like Frosty the Snowman, Santa Claus is Coming to Town, like those Christmas claymation movies, the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and stuff.
This would have been at least, 20 years after that?
Oh, yes. Yeah, this came out in 1982. So they did the Hobbit, I think was before this, and then they did The Last Unicorn. I loved it the first time I saw it. I loved it even more this time, I think. There's just I think it's really, really pretty. Like, I think it's gorgeous to look at. I think the music, like the opening song during like the opening credits is kind of this like melancholy, pensive sort of song that you're not expecting when you go into this children's cartoon, like this
Right.
animated film. You go into it, it's much more adult. But the reason I kind of bring it up in comparison with Ghibli, a lot of the artists who worked on this would become like a lot of the core animators for what would become Studio Ghibli. So like, this was kind of the film that they worked on before Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, which I just think it's interesting. It's interesting to walk into it with that perspective. I can definitely see some of that. Some of the comparisons, I think there is some if you squint, I think you can see some environmental stuff. But yeah, there's this one scene, and this doesn't spoil it, this is earlier on, but there's one scene where there's basically just this woman who is the cook and works with this like band of thieves. And when she first meets the unicorn, she gets like angry. And she basically is like, why now? Like, why are you why have you come to me now that I'm old and now that I'm like this? Like, why didn't, and she's not old, she's like middle-aged, but she's like, why couldn't you have come to me like when I was a young girl, like when I was this starry-eyed young woman yearning and hoping and wishing to see a unicorn? Like, why have you now decided to show up now when I'm this? And I'm still trying to, like, grapple with why I love that scene so much, and because when I first watched it, like, I just started crying. This time it still packed a punch, I got a little emotional, but, like, I don't know, I think just, like, I felt like I've felt that before, like, something happens and it's like, well, great, like, I'm glad it's happening now, but, like, this could have happened 10 years ago, why is it happening now? Like, this is almost too late, like, and I think there are some things to be said. I think Molly, does come to realize that, she did meet the unicorn at the right time for a variety of reasons, for both her and the unicorn's sake. But that doesn't erase the pain, I guess.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I think it's amazing. I rewatched it because I recently got a steelbook of it and it's really pretty. But yeah, just in general, like I said, if you have a fondness for fantasy, if you have a fondness for animation, if you even have a fondness for kind of those like if you're kind of in your feelings a little bit, I think The Last Unicorn is a good one, because that's one thing I said too. Is Sarah was trying to show me these things and I basically was like, I'm really in my feelings right now, and I think I need to just go like be in my feelings, because that's what this film does. Like, there's a line right near the end that that just kind of gets me all in my feels, and I'm like, I just need to sit with this kind of like vaguely melancholy, bittersweet feeling right now.
Yeah.
So that's my plug for The Last Unicorn.
Great. No, I've not heard much about it. Obviously familiar with the filmmakers. We had that Hobbit movie growing up, obviously the Christmas specials, so I can be familiar with at least a little bit of their sensibilities, but I'm interested to explore that sometime.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's a beautiful, beautiful film.
Great. Yeah, well, I did get to the theaters. I said on the
Yes.
podcast, if the Metacritic or whatever for Hokum hit, I don't remember what arbitrary number I gave, but it exceeded that exponentially. And I believe the phrase I used for you was, uh-oh, I am a scaredy cat, so this could be bad.
Yes.
So I did go see Hokum. Didn't love it, I'll say.
Okay.
I liked it fine, but I don't think it did anything like super innovative or super interesting as far as horror movies go. So I do want to give
Interesting.
it,
Okay.
yeah, so I do want to like give it, you know, uh, for anyone that's a big horror fan, for anyone that loves horror, I think this is exactly what you would hope for and what you would expect. And so in that genre, in what it's doing, in the way that it's crafted as far as filmography and or cinematography, I should say, like scares themselves, I think it does an excellent job.
Mm-hmm.
I think, yeah, I don't know. I think that there's very deliberately sort of three acts. A lot of movies are structured that way, but this one you can really kind of feel the three acts.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's an exciting and kind of like, oh my goodness thing to kind of close out Act One, but I don't know that it really works super well. I don't know. So I think, again,
Okay.
I think it's,
Interesting.
there's not as much like folk horror as I maybe was thinking or was expecting. Very much a witch horror type of movie. Good scares, but I don't know. Just not exactly for me. And I compare it to Long Legs and Weapons, which are essentially the two major horror movies I can think of that I've gone to see in the last few years in the theater. And it wasn't at the same level of those two.
Okay.
Crowd reaction, not as big of a crowd as I've had in those two when I saw them. But even at that point, like I feel like there was still a decent number of people in there, but not really reactive much to anything.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm feeling pretty low on it if I'm being honest. A little surprised at how well received it
Yeah,
is.
that's a bummer.
So, and it does some kind of interesting things with how he's a writer and he's like writing his book and it shows like his book playing out
Mhm.
as the scene, which is kind of fun, kind of exciting.
That is
Oh,
kinda cool.
the other thing I was gonna say was like there's a clear sort of internal struggle or messaging it's kind of trying, but it feels like it doesn't care that much about it, so it doesn't really feel like it sticks that well. Um,
Mhm.
I don't know. It was fine.
That's too bad. I kinda had my eye on it a little bit as maybe something to see this weekend, but I don't know. I still may. I know that also neither of us have gone out to see Devil Wears Prada 2 yet, and I should. It's getting, like, kind of middle of the road leaning positive reviews, and so I am not rushing out to see it, but I also think I would have a perfectly fine time watching it, but
So funny enough, I actually have seen people have pointed out it's actually reviewing better than the first one. It's right about at the same
interesting.
spot, but it is actually when you compare the sites one for one, it's right there and even most cases it's actually better. So I don't know
Interesting.
that I'll get to it, but I think it is doing pretty well actually. So I'm
Yeah.
happy to hear that.
Yeah, no, same.
No, but you
But
did see an exciting movie.
I saw a movie. I sure did. Because I have like a morbid curiosity sometimes. Like a year ago, I went and saw like the Minecraft movie and then Snow White, the live action Snow White, and I don't know, I'm just the type of person that is like, let me see what sort of hot garbage they've cropped up this time. So I went and saw the new Animal Farm. And first of all, I think it's hilarious. I already have more likes for my review for this than I do usually. And it's not even a review. I just said we'll review when I am less angry. And I have had 5 people like it, 2 of whom I've never met. So I think it's funny.
There you go.
But Animal Farm. Okay, I'm going to try not to spend our entire like podcast time talking about this, but I will give a bit of a rundown. It's one of those movies that I honestly keep going back and forth where cuz I said to you before I was like I don't understand why we are even turning Animal Farm like into a children's movie. I don't know if people are just like, "Oh, talking animals. Obviously, it's a cartoon for children." Whereas I look at this and I'm kind of like Animal Farm is I hadn't read it before. So I did kind of look up some stuff about it just because I it was not talked about in like high school English for
Wait,
some
wait,
reason.
wait,
I didn't have it
wait.
there.
You went into this blind?
No. So what I did is I knew the story. I had just not read the book. I had
Okay, okay.
refreshed. Yeah, I had kind of refreshed the story. So I knew it was going into it. I did a little bit of research just on because I wanted to make sure that I knew I wanted to make sure that the ending was what I thought it was. And it was.
Okay.
So the
Okay.
ending of the book is bleak. It's very
Right.
dark. I'm gonna spoil Animal Farm, the book, because if you haven't read the book, like it's Animal Farm. So the book is dark. There is no happy ending. You can't tell pigs and humans apart, and humans are the villain pretty much from the get-go. This movie, there were times that I found myself very surprised by how much it was in line with the ideology in the book. And then there were other times I was like, what is happening? So, but going back to the whole, I don't know that this is for kids. I read a review with an argument that was basically like, kids are smart. We need to stop like dumbing things down for kids. Like kids are intelligent. They will get it. We don't need to like pander to kids. We don't need to make fart jokes in Animal Farm to keep kids entertained. I am still not sure where I sit with that. But in regards to this version, it's a very confusing film. In the sense that, so like, first of all, it is all from the perspective of this character that they ham-fisted in named Lucky, who is like this young pig who like kind of is starry-eyed looking up to Napoleon. Character's not in the book. Character is in the movie. But the narrator is the horse named Boxer. And if you've seen, or if you've read the book, Boxer dies partway through. So you just have Boxer narrating, and there are like things that Lucky experiences that I'm like, Boxer doesn't know this is happening. Like, the horse is not there. Lucky doesn't tell him about it. Why is he narrating? And again, he continues to narrate after he is dead. I also just feel like this movie has, I think the biggest, like, I don't want to say problem, because I'm trying to be more thoughtful in how I critique films. I think one of the, like, kind of glaring issues is this movie kind of has an identity crisis.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it knows, like, what ideologies it's trying to promote.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, like, because on the one hand, there seems to be a pretty clear message of, like, capitalism bad. Like, the villain is played by Glenn Close, and it's the whole, like, she owns all the land except for the farm except for the animal farm, and she wants to own it. And so, like, it seems to have this kind of message of, like animal and environmental, like, good, and capitalism bad. But then, like, one of the major messages is still, like, we work hard for our friends. Like, that's a thing that Boxer says the entire time is he goes, work hard for Animal Farm. And it talks constantly about how Boxer's favorite thing is work. And I'm just like, I wrote a paper recently, and when I was reading an article about trauma, and they were talking about grit and how grit is almost like praised more than compassion and empathy and justice and honesty and integrity. Like, grit is
Sure.
kind of this characteristic that is the most rewarded. And that's kind of what I'm looking at here is I'm like, hard work is the thing we're glorifying rather than, like, honesty and kindness and justice. Like, what is this? So that's confusing. I think the Lucky thing is kind of confusing too, because, like, Lucky, so, you know, the pigs are the ones taking over. Lucky is a pig. He is part of the problem for most of the movie.
Right.
So most of the movie, like, he is the oppressor. And then he finally has his change of heart at, like, what is the end of the book, where he can't tell the pigs apart from the humans, and that's when he is kind of scared to his senses and runs out, and then there's 20 more minutes of movie, which is a waste of time. But that's my thing too, is that he's then the one who, like, saves the day, like, rallies the troops and saves the day. I also am not really on board with this message. Like, I agree that, like, you should not be part of the problem, and you do need to, like, lift up those who are oppressed, but, like, are we just, like, he apologizes, but I'm like, are we just ignoring the fact that for, like, 3/4 of the movie, like, you were part of the problem? Because you were. Like, and in no small way either. Like, you were a big part of this problem. So I find that all very, it's just, I don't know what it's trying to say. I feel like in some areas it is trying to say what the book is saying, where, like, power corrupts, money corrupts. It's very, very modernized too. On the one hand, I keep going back to, like, well, they're trying to market this towards a modern audience. They're trying to market this towards kids. So are you going to modernize it? Hey, but, like, the villain drives what looks to me like a version of a Cybertruck.
Sure.
And another confusing thing, she finally teams up with the pigs to get access to their land, and the big bad thing that she wants to do on their land is build a dam. That is a pretty clean source of energy. Why are we schlepping on this dam? Like, I get that she's just, like, storming onto the animals' property and building this dam with her little troops and minions, but I found that to be a little confusing as well. So I don't know. I don't think it fully understands what it's trying to say. I feel like on the one hand it's saying that leadership is bad. It's also saying that capitalism is bad, but hard work should be rewarded. It's talking about how, like, and, like, I'm not dogging on hard work, but, like, one thing you texted to me when I texted you, I was kind of giving you a rundown, is you were like, yes, hard work, like, that will free you from oppression. I don't know. I don't know what this film is trying to say. There were not as many, like fart jokes and things that I felt were pandering as I expected there to be, but I don't know. I don't feel like I have a read on this film's messaging. I expected it to be, like, completely contrary to Animal Farm based on some of the things I had read and seen. I don't think it is, but I don't know what it is. I feel like I'm getting a lot of kind of conflicting messages. I don't quite know where that happened, but I really do feel like there's an identity crisis. I don't know what this movie's trying to say. I don't think whatever it is trying to say is obviously doing it successfully if I can't even understand it. But the thing that really ticked me off at the end was at the end of the film, there's 2 QR codes. You could say if you liked the film or not. And if you scan the QR code that says you didn't like it, you are taken to a web page that says your opinion is wrong. I am not kidding. It says your opinion is wrong, which as someone who just spent 96 minutes watching this thing that I was kind of personally insulted by, I was like, I beg your finest pardon. And then you can click something that says correction payment portal, and it takes you and you can donate money. And so it says I'm right correction payment portal, and you can donate money to the studio. I can't entirely tell if it's tongue in cheek because it keeps throwing Napoleon's name around there, but that was frustrating to me. I felt like that was just like to add insult to injury. Like, really? Like, I just sat here through this movie that I didn't care for, and I'm not going to poo-poo. If someone liked it, great. I'm glad you had that experience. I did not care for it. I think there are some massive problems from a filmmaking perspective. I think there are problems just from an ideological perspective. And to then be like, hey, you can use this QR code. Did you like the movie or not? And when I click that QR code to have a page pop up that just says your opinion is wrong, it felt like a massive slap in the face. Like, I was like, okay, fine. At that point I was like, I usually like to stay through the credits, and I was like, okay, I'm going home. This isn't, you don't seem to respect me enough. You don't seem to respect my opinion enough. I'm not going to stay through the credits. That's a thing I do to pay respect to the movie and the people who worked on it. But that point was where I was like, okay, I see you later then. I'm out.
Yeah, I think it's actually, when you sent me that, I think this is the wrong movie to do that for because it's so bad,
Yeah.
and someone should have been able to recognize that. From a movie that is about sort of brainwashing and convincing people a certain way, like, I'm totally fine with gimmicks like that. Like, it's kind of funny. The donating thing's weird. Don't like that.
Yeah.
But I think where a lot of these movies go wrong, anytime you're dealing with this, it can be, Hoppers was something that I talked about a little bit earlier in the year, is you're dealing with things that are real issues and problems for people today. And if you don't have a narrowed focus and clear vision, then I think you can run into some clear problems. And when you can market it to kids, you can make it animated, that's fine. But I think when you're doing filmmaking and you start making filmmaking decisions that are like, oh, we need to do XYZ because kids will like that, or because kids will need to have someone to cheer for, or need to have a happy message, I think that's when you can run into some of these problems, because then you're sacrificing maybe the exact extent of the message you're trying to have for the sake of hitting certain quotas from a filmmaking perspective. And yet, I think you can look to George Orwell, who wrote Animal Farm. In a time, he wrote it right, I think, during World War II or shortly thereafter, when Britain was in an alliance with Russia. And he was understanding the things that Stalin and his regime were doing. And so he wrote this as a critique, as an allegory to, paint that message very clearly and to have something in direct contrast to sort of the political climate of the day. And so I think from what I hear from you is you watch this movie and it doesn't really give you hope to really do anything in our current political climate. It's not really giving you enough or anything to say about anything. So then it becomes a point of, then what is the point of this movie? And speaking to success or not, I did see today, I think its domestic gross up to this point after 2 weekends is about $3 million.
Yikes.
Yeah, pitiful. It was averaging like $126 per theater.
Yeah, I don't know. We try not to get too terribly political on this podcast because, we want to talk about movies, but we also talk about things, we've talked about I Saw the TV Glow and The Matrix, which are about trans allegory. I am a member of the LGBTQ plus community. We've talked about that. I'm a woman in film. We've talked about that. And I think even in trying to be like, okay, I don't want to get too terribly political, I would say I don't know if this film would make anyone happy. Because it has such an identity crisis where I'm like, I don't know if it it is not going full forward on any one message, I feel like. Whereas
Sure.
Animal Farm is pretty explicit and it again, it ends in such a bleak way that it is shocking and it's meant to kind of shake people awake. From Orwell's perspective, I don't feel like this film has nailed down what like political or ideological stance it's trying to take.
Right.
And that's why I'm just kind of like, I think there's a reason that it's failing is because lovers of George Orwell's book are not going to go see this kids show that has fart jokes in it. Kids aren't rushing to see this. There's other, they're going to see Super Mario Galaxy. And I think I don't think this film understands the message that it wants to make. So I don't know. I don't know if people just were unwilling to take a stand on the messaging. I don't want to put words in people's mouth because I genuinely do not know. But I don't think anyone is going to walk out of this being like, that was great.
Sure. That's enough talking about that.
I wouldn't recommend Animal Farm to anyone.
Noted.
And I'm not the only one. It has a 1.8 on Letterboxd right now.
Not good.
No, that is not good at all. But on to happier things. Studio Ghibli.
Much happier. Much better.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get it.
So these are some of the more fantastical ones, I think, kind of fantasy themed, as well as lots of young female leads in these ones. So, I mean, just first one, if we just go chronologically, one of the big ones that is, we have a couple of lesser known ones, but a couple of big ones as well. And this I know is beloved by many. Kiki's Delivery Service, 1989, directed and written by Hayao Miyazaki. I love this one.
Are you sure we didn't talk about Kiki?
We talked about it a little bit because I saw it in IMAX, but when I just sort of browsed through the ones that we talked about, I couldn't find it.
This might take too long for me to look. Let me look really quick.
We can talk about it just briefly. If we already talked about it, we're
sorry if we've already talked about Kiki's Delivery Service, and maybe I just told this story once when early on in a Ghibli episode, because Kiki's Delivery Service just reminds me of watching movies at my grandma's house, because one of the movies we would always watch there, this was always a trailer before whatever movie we were watching in my grandma's house. It was the only movie we'd watch at my grandma's house. And so I always had this impression of what this movie is. And watching this movie, it's nothing like I thought it was, which I can't even really put to words what I thought it was. But I think this movie is just the perfect movie about growing up, and just a lot of these movies are kind of about growing up. But I think this is a great movie about growing up and just kind of accepting who you are and giving space to be able to develop things in a way that you find meaningful and find purposeful. And I think that the way that it does it is just so beautiful and just so cozy, and just you can just, when you're in a down mood, you can just throw this movie on, throw a blanket over with your beverage or hot chocolate or whatever of choice, and this movie will just cheer you up.
Yeah, I first watched it actually when I was sick, and I think I texted a friend of mine and I was like, I need a comfort movie, and she was like, Kiki's Delivery Service. Kiki's Delivery Service, you will not regret it. And I think you're absolutely right in saying that it's a story about growing up. I think the specific part of growing up is I think it's a really good allegory for leaving home.
Yeah, exactly.
That first semester of college where or the first, second semester of college where you're just like, everything is terrible. Where's my mom? Why isn't anything working right? Why is school so hard? Why is working so hard? Why is dating so
Yeah.
hard? Why is everything so
Yeah,
hard?
that moment in life when things are really good and, like, you feel really confident, you feel really, like that's a great way to put it, you feel like you're on the top of the world, you're finishing high school, whatever it may be, or doing that thing, and then you go off to what you've been dreaming of or what you think of, and you just are hit with those moments of doubt and
Yeah.
but the people along the way that will be there to help you and to
Oh,
guide you is
yes.
just the way that this has one of my favorite shots in all of Ghibli, and it's when she meets Ursula and she walks into her house and she's painting, and it's just the most beautiful painting you've ever seen. And that shot,
Yes.
I was just taken aback and was just stunned at the beauty and just the attention to detail of what was being shown in this movie. Um, yeah, I really like this movie.
I do too. I think Gigi is funny. Like, I love that cat. I love the score. I do think this is like kind of the c- one of the like Ghibli crowd pleasers. Because, like,
Yeah,
I was talking up Spirited Away to my family today, and my dad was like, "Maybe watch that this weekend," and I was a little bit like, "Well, I don't know if you'll like it, and I don't want you to crap all over this movie that I love so dearly." And I finally was like, "Start with Kiki, and we'll go from there," because I'm like, Kiki is the one that I feel like that will kind of it has a lot of the Ghibli themes.
it's a really good, strong female lead. It has some magical elements, supporting characters, strong score. I think you're exactly right. It's a great entry point.
Yeah, I mean, you have the lack of villain, like I would say there's more conflict in this than there maybe are in some, but yeah, you
Sure.
have enough of the fantasy that you're kind of dipping your toe in the fantasy without jumping in, like with Castle in the Sky or something like that, or even Nausicaa. You're getting some of those themes, but like it's pleasant. It's tapping in at just over 100 minutes. So, you're not spending 2.5 hours. It's not like 2.5 hours that you're like, well, I'll never get that back. Like, it's just over an hour and a half. Yeah, like I feel like Kiki's is the one that I'm like, it's cute, it's fun, it's light, it's relatable. It gives you some of that Ghibli vibe without completely throwing you in the deep end the way some of these others do.
Yeah. And you're right. Gigi is a top 5 Ghibli character in all movies.
Gigi's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
The scene where he has to pretend that he is like a stuffed animal for a good, like, 10 minutes is so good.
Yeah, it's a funny movie too, like, there are those moments too.
So funny.
It's an interesting movie too of I almost have a hard time, like, clocking the exact age range that it's targeting just because I feel like it is so,
Mm,
like, broad as far as I would say, like, Oliver maybe wouldn't be as engaged as a Totoro, but,
right.
as kids are getting older and they can understand, but then even, like us, it's a great movie, so, yeah, I love Kiki.
Yeah, I would agree. It's not one of those because there are a handful of Ghibli films that I'm like, "This is specifically aimed at adults." But
Mhm.
then there's also a few that I'm like, Ponyo and Totoro, I feel like are the ones that I'm like, a toddler could watch this and have a good time. Kiki's Delivery Service, I think is a little bit older, but I think kind of the like 6 to 12 maybe is kinda your sweet spot for Kiki's Delivery Service, where they need
Yeah,
to
I think
understand
that
a little
sounds
bit
about
more,
right.
but it's still very, very, very kid-friendly, but I have this one at 4.5 stars.
I think that's what I had, but I could if I rewatched it fully, I'd probably just flip it to a 5. It's in my
Okay.
these are certified 5-star
Yeah,
incredible movies. So yeah, I'd count this in the upper echelon of Ghibli's.
yeah. Next is actually one of my brothers, it's his all-time favorite, This is 1995's Whisper of the Heart. The director is Yoshifumi Kondo, and the writer is Hayao Miyazaki. We talked about this last week a little bit, so we'll keep it kind of brief, but I think it's fun. I think it's a little too long. Again, like we talked about it last week because I saw it in IMAX.
Right. Good movie.
But yeah, like I'm like I have it at 4 stars.
Yeah. I think I'm 3.5.
I think it's really pretty. I think it's fun. I think it's nice. I think it's a little too long, but I think it's a really good time. But the big one, the reason we are all here, I feel like this is like the big one that we haven't talked about yet. And that is 2001's Spirited Away, written and directed by Hayao Miyazaki. And this movie is perfect.
Yep.
Case closed.
Wrap it up. Move on.
Yep.
That's all we need to say. I think objectively, this movie won the Oscar, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Historically, that's a huge deal. That opens it up to a lot more people just generally interested in movies. You all heard me, if you're listening to this, about how into Oscar season I got. I watched all 50 nominees. So it just comes up often for people to pick up. It's in a lot of lists. It's in, IMDb top 250. It's in Letterboxd top 100. And so people check this movie
Sight
off
and Sound's
often.
top 250.
Yeah, and I watched all of these Ghibli movies. You have that background. And for me, it's one of those movies that I rewatch and I'm like, yeah, like this movie is objectively and personally to me, I don't even think it's the best Ghibli movie. I think genuinely it's one of the best movies that has ever been made of just all time. Just a masterpiece.
Yeah. I was doing a little bit of research on this, and Miyazaki, I feel like a lot of other Miyazakis, I have little quibbles here and there, and Miyazaki, I read, he either doesn't write a script or doesn't have a script finished by the time they produce it. He starts storyboarding, and storyboarding usually isn't even done when they start producing it.
Sure.
And I feel like there's some of those where you can kind of tell, you're like, you didn't know the end from the beginning. Spirited Away is one where I'm just like, every beat hits perfectly. And because this one, the first time I watched this was like 8 or 9 years ago. And it was the first Studio Ghibli I'd ever seen. And I remember liking it, but like I even remember halfway through I paused it and I looked at my brother and I said, I like this, but I have no idea what's going on. And he was like, yeah, no, same. And we finished and I was like, yeah, no, I really like that. I didn't remember much of it, so I rewatched it for this. And yeah, I think the first time I wasn't as familiar with like nonlinear storytelling. I think some of the symbolism, just international cinema in general, Japanese cinema specifically. Watching it this time, I was in the right space to watch it, and just like it's just perfect. Like the animation is flawless.
Yeah.
The character designs are so freaking good. I think the only score that I would say is maybe better is Princess Mononoke's. This score is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I'm not just saying that because I love Princess Mononoke. I genuinely, Princess Mononoke's score is really, really freaking fantastic. But like, Spirited Away's score is wonderful.
Literally, no matter where I am, if I'm turning on this movie or if I turning on a Ghibli playlist on shuffle at work or wherever I am, the second I hear the first piano, like glissando in the beginning of, the Summer Day song, I just feel like my body just like releases all tension and I just like take a deep breath. Like that's what, if I had to sum up what this movie feels like, it just feels like letting out a really big deep breath and just like, wow, everything's going to be okay. I just got chills just like thinking about this. It's it's an incredible piece of art. And I think you're right to what you were just saying a second ago, kind of about your dad. It is kind of, I would caution, like, if you aren't familiar with foreign films or Ghibli or anything like that, it would be an abrupt starting point. And to illustrate that, when I was very young, a family friend gave this movie to us to watch, and we made it maybe 10 minutes after parents turned into pigs, and my parents were like, "What is this? We're not watching this."
Yeah.
So I didn't rewatch it until many years later, about 5 years ago, and yeah, just hits all the points, just makes me feel at peace. It's just
It's so
the
good.
like, in the way that it just sits with things literally and
Mm, mm.
figuratively, when they get onto the train over the water and, like, they're just sitting there and they're
I was
just yeah, and it's just like, you don't have to do anything flashy to have the most impactful moment in a story. You can just take the characters and show so much about where they've come from and where they're going in just a small moment on a train, sitting there
Mhm.
peacefully. So, yeah.
'Cause yeah, I just a few things I wanna talk about with the story. When I started it this time, I think the arc and the growth of Chihiro is really interesting because when you meet her, I'm like, this is a sullen, like, child. She's kind of like, she's when the movie starts, I'm like, I don't know that I like Chihiro very much. I think she's kinda grumpy, she's pouting because 'cause they're moving, and I'm just like, "Oh my gosh, come on, Chihiro, get up." But she does the good qualities that she has are highlighted along her journey and ultimately help her succeed, and maybe some of her weaknesses or some of her flaws aren't ignored, but, like, there's development and there's growth there, and I think that that's really interesting because, like I said, you meet Chihiro, and I'm a little bit like, "I don't know that I like you very much." And as you go through, like, there's a lot. I mean, I love what she's so generous, and that ends up being kind of a major thing that saves her unknowingly through the film. I love all of the symbolism. I think the first time I watched this, because there's so much imagery of No Face. It's kind of like the Totoro. You've seen the Totoro even if you haven't seen My Neighbor Totoro. And so you've seen No Face, even if you haven't seen
Yeah.
Spirited Away. So when I watched it the first time, and all of a sudden it like turns bad, because at first it seems like it's nice. It's this quiet little thing. It makes these cute little noises, and it's helping Chihiro out. I'm like, yeah, I'm here for this little weird spirit. And then all of a
Um,
sudden, the spirit starts eating people, and like things start happening, and I'm like, this thing is bad. And I'm trying to think of quite how to say this. Like we've said before, Miyazaki doesn't really do villains in a lot of his films, and that's the thing is I feel like the first time I watched this, I feel like I was constantly trying to pin down, "Wait, who's the bad guy? Is it Yubaba? Nope, maybe it's this
right.
no-face thing. Nope, wait, now we've had Yubaba's sister, Zaribu or whatever her name is." I'm like, "She should so is she the real bad guy?" And, like, as you go along, like, that's not the point. Like, No-Face isn't bad. No Face is like a symbolism for like what gluttony and what like greed can do to someone. Like it can harm other people. It can cause other people to react irrationally. And I find it interesting that when Chihiro gives him like the medicine, it causes him to like violently like vomit up everything that he's been eating and consuming. And at the end of it, he is like No Face also kind of goes on this little journey. And like by the end of it, he is this little like contented spirit just like helping this old lady crochet. And like same thing with like I feel like you Baba's character, she's not bad, she's just like wrong. Cause like I was it Zeniba? Her sister is basically like, "Oh yeah, that tacky like place she lives." Like it's not like yeah, she's bad and evil. It's just like no, like she's that's one way to live, and like I don't think we're meant to think that is like a the best way to live, but it's basically like no, that is Yubaba lives in such a way, and she's not evil or cruel. She might be wrong,
No,
and
and
we're
I
not meant
think
to
too,
agree with her,
like,
but she's not cruel.
and I think that it is in some ways saying like certain aspects of it maybe aren't right, but at the end of the day, her
Right.
business is still like service of others, you know?
Mhm.
And like even the grimiest and stinkiest, she doesn't turn away. She allows them to come in,
Mhm.
and then that's when Chihiro cleans that spirit. Yeah, I do think that it does. Well, maybe the one bad, but even then, you know,
That's the thing is I feel like it's like, well,
it
okay, like, yeah, I think that it's all really, really interesting because like I said, I think the first time I went into it being like trying to put my finger on who the bad guy was. Like I was like, oh, is it Haku? Is he a double agent? Is he like no? He's just a kid. He's just a guy. Like, oh, is Yubaba bad? Oh, is her sister the real bad one? Is that Will pulled over my? Oh, maybe it's No Face, and it's just like no, I don't know that I think if you had to pick a villain, it's Yubaba, but even then, like, she's more of a grumpy old lady than she
yeah,
is like an evil mustache trolling, like, I just want to cause misery and chaos. Like, no, she's just, I would say she doesn't have some priorities quite right, and she's a little grumpy,
sure,
but like, I don't think she's evil.
yeah, no, yeah, no doubt. This is a really good movie. I think again, just sort of, I think about beauty, about finding purpose, about seeing and understanding who you are and what is important about your identity and holding on
Mhm.
to that and never letting anyone tell you differently and just the beauty in the world around us. It's just such a good movie.
It's yeah, I couldn't you said it perfectly. I couldn't have said it better. I think it is beautiful in every conceivable sense, and I think,
Yeah.
like, that
So five,
it's an easy 5 stars for me.
easy five for easy five, easy.
Yeah. But the next one coming a little bit later, I remember seeing trailers for this, but it's called either Arrietty or The Secret World of Arrietty, came out in 2010. The director is Hiromasa Yonebayashi. He also did When Marnie Was There and a movie called Mary and the Witch's Flower, which is not Ghibli, but I remember when it came out thinking it was. Writer is Hayao Miyazaki, also Keiko Niwa, who did a lot of the other ones. Unfortunately, a lot of the ones that we didn't like. But
This guy's really
yeah, this
interesting real quick. The director here, when I saw that he did that other one you had mentioned that's not Ghibli, I was like, oh, did he like leave Studio Ghibli or whatever? But if you go look at his credits, like no, he's integral to Studio Ghibli. Like he he does art on everything since the 90s, and he was back on The Boy and the
yeah,
Heron as like an art director, whatever it is. So just one of those guys
yeah.
that's intrinsically connected to Studio Ghibli. But yeah, anyways, Eddie, this movie,
I think it's super fun. I'll let you I feel like I have been talking a lot, so I'll kind of let you take it away with this
thank
one.
you. Yeah, this was the movie I was least excited to watch.
Ooh, really?
Yes. I think just
Huh.
the name of it even, and just like looking at like ooh, like little fairies, whatever, I was like, I'm just not
Mhm.
interested in this. I thought it was gonna be more geared towards kids as well. So I think those couple factors, I was like,
Mm,
okay, let me get to this one. And lo and behold, this movie blew me off my socks. I couldn't I was very pleasantly
yeah.
surprised at how much I enjoyed this movie. And I think the one key defining feature of what makes this movie so good is the music. Um it's just sets a
Yeah.
very like what's the right word? Like a fantasy like folk like
It's
renaissance type
Celtic music almost.
feel. Yeah, Celtic feeling and just like very upbeat and you know like lutes and that type of thing and
Yeah.
flutes and so I think that immediately from the start it has this song and I'm like what do we have here, but I think it is just a similar Ghibli, it hits all the Ghibli story beats of
Yeah.
strong-willed girl and makes connections. It has the nature elements of it. It has sort of this love that develops, not in a romantic way, but just this love between two people that inspires both to be able
Mm.
to take on the things they need to take on. And there's just something magical about it. It just really, really works for me. I think a lot, very similar movie, I would say, to like a Kiki's Delivery Service, I think. I'm hitting a lot of the beats, but then
Yeah.
also saying some bigger things too, I think, about like refugees in general and sort of how
I didn't think
people
about
deal with
that.
that and how things that are just different than us and how we react to that and looking out for each other and things like that. So very good. I love Arrietty.
The other thing I really loved about it, because I wrote down about the Celtic music. Same thing. It's probably my favorite like non Joe Hisaishi score.
Oh, for sure.
But for those of you who haven't seen it, it's basically these people are like an inch tall. They're called the borrowers. I loved like the production design too. I thought it was super inventive how they used like things that we've seen every day, like, oh, that's a paperclip. But for them, it's something else entirely. You know, the little things here and there, like for us, it's like, oh, that's a napkin, but for them it's a tablecloth or what have you. I thought like things like that, I found it really endearing and really inventive. Like it was very fun to see. Why do you keep
I'm so
laughing?
sorry. For some reason, I must have not looked at letterboxd reviews for this movie. The very top one, these short people out here calling themselves borrowers, but you know what? They are just stealing.
I
Here's
mean,
another good one. Arrietty's dad is such a dilf. Why is no one addressing this?
well, I mean, they're not wrong on both counts. But yeah, no, I this is one of the ones like Whisper the Heart that's getting like a brief IMAX restoration, and I know that you and I have both expressed wanting to go see it.
Yeah. I wrote a lot about this in my review. This is something I'll share. So there's a scene at the very beginning of this, where the camera focus shifts from a human character to a grass blade with a ladybug on it. And it's
Yes.
just such a beautiful moment again to like take something, any movie that you watch almost, right? It's going to be this perspective of humans. And so to take that, what you're expecting, and then to show you this other world of things that are going on, I think sets up the movie really beautifully. And I think too that this movie doesn't wrap up everything super beautifully and
No.
wraps it in a bow and sends the characters off. It's hopeful, but it's also somewhat bittersweet. And I
Mhm.
think that is something that you don't often hear people saying, that movies that wrap everything up nicely in a cute bow are the ones that stick with you. It's usually the ones where you feel something and you feel a longing for characters of, I hope that they can get
Mm.
to where they need to get to. I hope that this surgery will go well, but you don't know if it will. And that hope is what sustains you and keeps you going. And that's what makes this movie so special.
Well said. Well said. This was 4 stars for me. I have a feeling it's higher for you.
Yeah, it's 4.5 for me. But again, I think I could give it 5 on any given day. But it's not
Yeah.
generally in that 5-star Ghibli club, I'd say. Still 3.9 on Letterboxd, so definitely overwhelmingly positive, but not necessarily in that upper tier. I would probably say in the general consensus, but for me, it's definitely in the top tier.
This next one is a little divisive for us, which I think is gonna be interesting to talk about. This is The Tale of Princess, I don't know if it's pronounced Kaguya or Kaguya, but came out in 2013. It was Isao Takahata's final film, that he directed. He also wrote it alongside of Riko Sakaguchi, and I really loved it. I really loved it. I think it's too long. It's 2 hours and almost 20 minutes, and I think that is entirely too long, but it's top of mind because I just kinda refreshed some of the scenes from it before we recorded. Again, I'll let you, I know you have thoughts, so I'll let you talk
I
about
I
it before
honestly
I
I
gush a little
honestly
bit.
don't I honestly don't have a lot of thoughts. Because in general, my thought is I get it. I can see the beauty in it, and I'm totally cool with people that love it. I just really didn't. It just didn't click for me
It didn't work for you.
from like a viewing perspective, like story and viewing. I just wasn't there, but I get
Mhm.
it. And I'm okay hearing people gush about it because I can understand all the aspects that make it what people love. But it just wasn't for
I think for me, yes, it's a folk tale, and there's cute moments and sweet moments, and I mean that ending is sad. Like that is, I don't even know if that's even a bittersweet ending. I think that's just a sad ending.
right.
But for me, what really kicks it up a notch is just I love that animation style. Like
Yeah.
Takahata, that was kind of what he did is he was like, how can we marry 2D animation with this innovative new technology and make it something else. And I mean, you can see that here. I love that it has this like watercolor colored pencil look. There was one moment I was watching it and it kind of reminded me of like the xerography effect in some of Disney's films.
Okay.
I like it here instead because I feel
Can you
like in
explain what that
Disney,
is?
sure, they started doing it with 101 Dalmatians, and I honestly think 101 Dalmatians is the only one where it works. But it's kind of like, I feel like it's most obvious in Aristocats. You can kind of see the lines, like the brush strokes of the outlines of people, and where typically you would erase as you're sort of outlining this person, they didn't erase it. And so it's called xerography, partially I think because they were basically they were making copies of, it's not very fluid animation. They were making copies of things. I don't like it. I think
Okay.
that it works for 101 Dalmatians because I think the whole idea is you're in kind of this urban London. It is kind of messy. I think for a lot of the others, it just they did it for Jungle Book, they did it for Aristocats, they did it for Robin Hood. I really, really don't think it works. I think it looks messy. I think it looks cheap. And I had the thought where there was a scene where I was like, this kind of looks like that. But I think the difference for me is this leans so much into like the folklore and like the folk tale aspect of it. This is like one of the oldest Japanese folk tales, and it looks like it's written on like an ancient Japanese scroll. And I think when it's intentional for that, like I said, I think with 101 Dalmatians, I really like that effect. And I feel like with this film, I really liked. It's a different effect than xerography, but has some similarities where you can really kind of see the outlines and the shifting just like lines and outlines of characters and stuff. But yeah, I really like it. I think it's an enchanting thing to look at. I think it's really, really pretty. I think it's inventive. I've never seen anything like it before.
Right. I
I
agree
think it
with
is
that.
I think it's real. I think it's fascinating and I think it's beautiful. Like I think it's something that not only is it innovative, but I'm like I think it is gorgeous to look at. There's a lot I like about the story. Again, I think it's a little too long. There's some that doesn't quite work for me. So almost every single one of my friends has this at 5 star, and I tapped out at four and a
Whoops.
half. I couldn't quite bring myself to. Yeah, most of them except for you.
Did I don't know if I even rated this actually. I think I ranked it on my list, but I'm not sure if I gave it a rating because I just felt like, I felt like, okay, I get it. I don't want to
Yeah,
rate it because
but like
it's not working for me, and I don't
just looking
like.
at some of the people I follow.
I was gonna say I was
Go
looking at the
ahead.
Oscars that year, and Big Hero 6 won, which is a movie I like, but to win over this piece of
That's
art is
insane.
like that's an objectively insane. I think anyone you ask today would agree.
Yeah,
Kind of crazy too, actually, is the Lego movie came out that year too and was also not
didn't even get
nominated.
nominated.
Didn't even get
Yep, I
nominated.
remember that.
The Lego movie didn't get nominated, which is actually also fairly surprising. I think, again,
Agreed.
if you looked back today, that probably would have been, honestly, that may have even won if it were today.
Yeah.
But this movie got to be one of the biggest snub of the last 20
Yeah.
years of the Oscars, at least.
Yeah. But like I said, I think it's beautiful. I think it's enchanting. I do think it is too long. I'm not quite sold on giving it 5 stars. But I'm very comfortable in my 4.5.
I
And
get them.
it's again, it's one of those that I could there could be a future watch where I am in the right mindset and I am in it and I'm like, oh yeah, I don't know what I was thinking before. 5 stars, obviously. So
Sure.
but then the last one, this one kinda snuck in there. This one I feel like people often forget about, but it is 2014's When Marnie Was There. The director is Hiromasa Yonebayashi. Writers, Joan G. Robinson, I guess, did the novel, and then there's 3 other writers on here. The director, Hiromasa Yonebayashi, Keiko Niwa, and Masashi Ando. Yeah, When
Spoiler
Marnie Was There.
alert. Spoiler alert.
Yep.
This is maybe the only Studio Ghibli that relies on the plot device of a really big twist.
Yes, I would agree.
And you knew the twist going into it on accident.
Yes, I
I
stumbled
didn't, and
onto
so
it.
I had a very good viewing experience with this movie. But let's just pull the Band-Aid right off of this one. The main conversation around this movie is whether or not it is, well, not even whether or not it is, the main conversation is that it's somewhat blatantly queer bait. Maybe you would do a better job explaining what queer bait is and kind of how this movie kind of fits in that realm.
Yeah, so queer bait is typically when there are 2 characters of the same gender who very clearly have some sort of romantic and or sexual like chemistry. And typically it's like, oh, they're never any more than like they're good friends. Nothing ever comes of it, but it feels like either the studio didn't allow them to, or the creators or directors weren't fully willing to go for it. But it's typically this idea where there is some kind of chemistry between 2 people of the same gender and it never actually goes anywhere.
Yeah.
That's what
Now,
queer bait
my
is.
take on this movie is, number one, I don't think it is an issue if you watch this movie and you like it. You can think all of those things about Marnie, and I don't think it hurts anything. Like, I think that she very
Agreed.
well probably is queer, and that's, great for anyone who is struggling or
I,
who
I
needs
wouldn't say
something to
Marnie.
feel seen.
I would say the lead. I forget the lead's name. It's like
Oh,
Anna or
is
Emma
it
or something.
not? Shoot, it's been a while since I've seen this. Marnie's the
Marnie is
grandma.
the blonde.
Okay,
Yes.
my bad. Spoiler
Anna
alert,
is
right?
the one that
Okay,
Anna is the
so
lead, and
yes.
in my opinion,
So
she is queer coded.
the main character, very queer coded, and I think that isn't an issue. I think where people find issue literally shipping the relationship, which I think is something you run into in almost all of these, not all the Ghibli movies, but in many of these Ghibli movies, is I just feel like the human connection and friendship is treated with so much love and care, and like so much of the media we consume is about people getting together and being romantically involved. And I just feel like this movie isn't interested in that. This movie is interested in a lonely girl for finding connection and meaning for seemingly the first time in her entire life with this friend who is paying attention to her like no one else ever has, and just like the feelings that come with that of just deep love and appreciation for this person. So anyone that is, I think everyone has a right to feel however they want to feel about anything, but I think anyone that is mad at this movie for queer baiting, I would say I think you're reading into things a little bit much, and you're kind of missing on some of the key themes that it's really going for is the take that I would approach it with.
Yeah, I think I have a few streams of thought. I am glad that I did know the twist, because I think had I not, I think I would have been one of those that was annoyed. Because there are moments that I think have a very queer reading to them. They dance with each other. And it's right after
Mhm.
Marnie is just slow dancing with a guy, and then she comes out and slow dances with Anna. And Anna says, "I love you," in a way that feels like it carries some weight to it beyond just we're friends. And like they talk about how the other one they talk about keeping each other a secret. I feel like it's not a stretch to view it with a queer lens. I will say this.
But I think my first point is I think I think that's still all true. Even when you get to the
Right.
twist, I still think that that's all true, and I don't think it's, like, gross or weird when you get to the twist, and I think in some ways, 'cause it is very kinda ghost story dreamlike, and I think in some ways you can even see as, like, a little bit of her identity and her awakening of kind of understanding a little bit more of those specific aspects of how she feels.
Yeah.
So again, I guess what I'm saying is I understand why people could be mad, but I think if you sit with it, you can see that there is a little bit more at play and you can still take those things at the same time. And I think I mentioned this in texting with you of like culturally, it may not even be nearly as accepted as it is in the US and Japan. And so,
Right. Well, and even 12 years ago, 2014, I would say there's been a shift even in the US since then.
right.
I would agree. Basically, what I'm saying is I do agree with you. I think that you can watch it with a queer lens. I do think that there is a reason that, I think there's a reason that the people chose, 2 women and not a guy and a girl, because they specifically did not want that romantic subtext written in.
Right, right.
And so I yeah, I don't think it's trying to be queer bait at the very least. I do think
It
that it
is a
is queer
little
coded.
funny that it's written and directed by men.
Yeah, well,
But I mean,
novel
that's
is Joan is a woman,
okay, there you
and
go. But I mean,
Keiko Niwa, I think, is also a woman.
all
One of
of
the
Ghibli
screenwriters.
are these really strong female-centric stories, so
Yeah.
it's it's a plus for sure.
But another thing I'm kinda here for this reading on it as well is I think there are times where we get so caught up, and I am saying this as a lesbian, where we get so caught up in wanting representation, trying to see ourselves on screen, that we sometimes not ignore downplay the power of seeing of depictions of female friendship. And because the film that has come to mind when I make this case against people is I don't know if you've seen it. Have you seen Thelma and Louise?
I haven't actually.
I think it is a beautiful feminist, female-centric film. It's directed by Ridley Scott, but was written by a woman, stars 2 women, and I think it is either a masterpiece or a very near masterpiece. And I think the film is cheapened with a queer reading. I think the value of the film comes from that sort of, feminine solidarity of, we understand what the other goes through as a woman, and the power of, loving one another in a way that's not overshadowed with, sexual or romantic feelings. Like, they are bonded, they understand each other, they love each other, they protect each other in a way that is grounded, in that friendship. And so that's kind of what I'm here for as well. Is I do think the character of Anna is queer coded, but I also think, don't when you find out that, it's her grandma, to me, I'm like, that's beautiful, because it's
Yeah.
showing that this bond of feminine friendship actually was more than that. It was this familial bond as well, because there are female friendships that I have, as I am happily in a relationship with another woman. I have female friends that I love dearly and that I am bonded to. The only person I have eyes for romantically is Sarah, but there are other people that, like, there's a bond there. There's a sisterhood there. And so I do think that this film when Marnie was there, I think it is a beautiful depiction just of of sisterhood, of feminine bond. And I think that that's a beautiful thing and I don't want to take that away by being like, "Oh, this is queer bait. Oh, it should have been this way. Oh, they didn't go."
Right.
No. No, I think from the beginning this was the story. This was what it was going to be, and I think we can celebrate this depiction of female friendship without needing it to have a queer message.
Right. No, well said. On the same page there, I think. And again, I think like it is a little bit different in that way, kind of how we said structurally with the twist and the plot device. So
Mhm.
it doesn't feel out of place. Like it definitely feels like a Ghibli movie, but it does feel like somewhat unique and somewhat in its own
Totally agree.
category. Like it just feels a little bit a little bit different, but obviously still very Ghibli at its core.
Yeah, I mean, The Wind Rises felt a little bit to me like that. Felt a little
Sure.
bit like that to me as well. But yeah, I mean, this one, Miyazaki didn't direct it, Takahata didn't direct it. It's like kind of a haunted house story, but it's also like
Right.
kind of a story about like friendship and healing and kind of a story about family and found family. And yeah, I don't know. I think I gave it 4 stars. I really liked it. I honestly
Yeah,
really,
me
really
too.
liked when Marnie was there.
Me too. Okay. Well, that's it. That's Ghibli. And now we get to rank them all. Do you want me to do my full list or do you want to alternate from the bottom first?
Yeah, but go ahead and let's just do your full list.
Okay. In last place, I have Earwig and the Witch.
Uh-huh. To no
Okay,
one's surprise.
oh my gosh, what a movie. My Neighbors the Yamadas, Ocean Waves, Tales from Earthsea, The Cat Returns, Pom Poko, Whisper of the Heart, The Tale of Princess Kaguya. I don't know how to say
Oh,
either. My bad. Sorry. Ponyo, Grave of the Fireflies, Only Yesterday, From Up on Poppy Hill, when Marnie was there. Did we talk about Only Yesterday? We might have skipped it, but that's fine. It's good.
shoot, I don't know if we did. I don't know if we deep dive into From Up on Poppy Hill either, but yeah, Only Yesterday
No,
is
yeah,
nice.
we skipped those two, but whatever. They're good. And technically
Yikes.
Ponyo we did earlier, but anyways.
Yeah.
Okay, so Only Yesterday, From Up on Poppy Hill, when Marnie was there, The Wind Rises, Howl's Moving Castle, Princess Mononoke, Arrietty, My Neighbor Totoro, Kiki's Delivery Service, Castle in the Sky, The Boy and the Heron, Nazca of the Valley of the Wind, Porco Rosso, and rounding out in the top place is Spirited Away.
I want to give one caveat on Only Yesterday. Only Yesterday is pretty low on my list. I think it would be higher with a rewatch, and I kept wanting to put it higher, but then I felt like I had to be authentic, and there were ones that I enjoyed watching more. But
All good. No worries.
that could change. But where it is right now, in last place, I also have Earwig and the Witch,
Jeez.
Ocean Waves, Tales from Earthsea, The Cat Returns, From Up on Poppy Hill, Pom
Mm.
Poko, My Neighbors the Yamadas, Howl's Moving Castle, Arrietty, Only Yesterday, Porco Rosso, Whisper of the Heart, When Marnie Was There, Ponyo, Castle in the Sky, The Wind Rises, Kiki's Delivery Service. I meant to put Tale of Princess Kaguya a little lower. It automatically put it in there. Well, it would have been a little lower, but Tale of Princess Kaguya would probably be between Ponyo and Castle in the Sky. A Boy and the Heron, Grave of the Fireflies. I did see the Red Turtle, so that's in here, but I'll skip it. Nazca of the Valley of the Wind, Spirited Away, My Neighbor Totoro, and Princess Mononoke coming in as my number one.
Quite different. Quite different.
Some
But like I
similarities
said,
for sure. We have a lot that are bunched together, and then we have ones that are kind of flipped
right.
around.
No, exactly right. And again, like I said, I think Probably 11 as I'm looking at my list. I could hear conversations about these are 5-star movies
Yeah.
and be totally okay with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is
And, like,
Studio
I really
Ghibli.
loved when Marnie was there over, like, Porco Rosso, but I also could someone could make a case that Porco Rosso is a five-star movie, and I would agree. I don't know that I could get on board with that for Marnie.
That's exactly where I'm at, too. Obviously, I have Porco Rosso high.
Yeah.
Marnie is like, oh, I really liked this. I don't think it's in the, S tier of Studio Ghibli
Right.
movies. Yeah.
Right. Agreed. Well, that's it. Rounding out the Ghibli. I can't believe, yeah, we did forget only yesterday, which is, oh, well, we'll do an Arts v Charts or something for it later.
Yeah,
But
that's a good
Adam,
idea.
I don't know if you have an answer to this question because I think I need to pick a top 3, but what are we watching?
Yeah, no idea. And then an Arts Freeze charts, no idea. And then Mandalorian and Grogu.
Yes, so Mandalorian and Grogu is coming out, so yes, we need to do Mandalorian season 3 and Book of Boba. I forgot.
Yep. So that'll be in 2 weeks because that movie comes out 2 weeks from tomorrow.
Mhm.
Good thing you don't have school anymore, huh?
Good thing I don't have school anymore. I got to cram some episodes of The Mandalorian
And the Book of Boba Fett. Book of Boba Fett first.
and the Book of Boba. Yeah.
I'll say I really liked the Book of Boba to start. I was really into it. And then
Excellent.
yeah. So that you may love it.
It'll be
You never
interesting.
know.
We'll have yeah, I'm sure we'll have lots of things to talk about.
Cool. As always, appreciate all the support. Keep listening, engage with us, give us your takes, tell us why we're wrong, tell us how to improve, and until next time.
Catch you later.